See little baby cardinals popping their heads up. They're hungry. Feed them, mama. Feed. There's the mama. She's got a bug. What's she got? Go on. Go on, feed the babies. There you go. Here it is. Check it out. That's how it works, folks. You feed the birds with a bird feeder. The birds will have their babies on your property. They'll raise them on your property. They'll go out and they'll hunt down the insects that are pests in your garden and feed them to their babies. No more bugs. And, sometimes you get pretty birds out of it. Thank you. Well, hello good people. Hi, I'm Jason with Green Country Agroforestry. Sites like we just saw at the very beginning of this film are one of the great privileges that we have whenever we contribute to nature and we get to see the natural world acting. Now, today, I want to show you something that is kind of an embarrassing thing. It's a mistake that I made a couple of years ago when I was doing my first plantings of our hazelnut trees. And that was forgetting what I planted, where I planted it. Ordinarily, this is not a big problem. I can look behind me and see this and go, well, that's a pecan tree. And I've got another one right over there. And I only have the one variety of pecan, so I know that these are both Wichita pecans. But I planted 3 different cultivars of hazelnut trees. I planted Jefferson, Etta, and Yamhill cultivars, and I planted 6 trees in the front yard area 3 years ago, and I have forgotten which tree goes where. So I'm pretty sure I had a Jefferson there, and then it was either Etta or Yamhill, and then maybe Jefferson again. I had a plan in my head when I was planting them, and then at the last moment I changed the order, and now I don't know which tree is which. And this is a problem because now, 3 years later, they're starting to produce little baby trees, which is wonderful news, but unfortunately I don't know what babies I've got. Well, I know the little babies back there are baby cardinals, but other than knowing that these are hazelnut trees that I'm producing over here, I don't know which cultivar. So I've got a solution for that right here. Let me show it to you. Well, today's solution to the problem of I forgot what I planted and where I planted it is more of a prevention and not a cure. What I have here is something called embossa tag, and people working in industrial applications know that we use these little aluminum tags and the wires that come with them to mark pieces of equipment. And it's a lot better than using a paper tag with a pen and ink, because pen and ink can fade, especially if you're working out in the weather. And this aluminum tag, once it's impressed with whatever is written here, will stay regardless of wind, rain. It's not going to rust. It'll be there for years and years and years, and you won't forget what you planted where if you use one of these. So our solution is we're going to take the first hazelnut tree and label it 1, and then any offspring that it produces we'll also label as 1. Within a few years, whenever I'm able to compare the nuts that these trees produce, I can probably deduce which cultivar they are, and then I can put the name to them. But just imagine how better off it would be if I had taken one of these tags and written down what variety of hazelnut was over there at position 1. Let's go ahead and write a tag. Okay, so here we are. This is hazelnut tree number 1. I've already taken the liberty of taking some of the babies. I think I've got 3 of them so far from hazelnut tree number 1, and I've taken them and put them over the air pruning bed. You can see there's some more coming up here, and we've got evidence of maybe more wanting to come up right there. Try to move that paper so stifle the growth. So these are suckers. They come off of the roots of the tree. They grow out a little ways and then they pop up. And all you have to do is remove these with their roots intact, and you've got a brand new tree. This will happen about 3 years after you plant. your trees. You'll start getting new baby trees off of them. So hazelnuts are one of those plants that you can get that's a great food producer for you, and within a short amount of time it's in the business of making more trees for you. So you don't have to buy a lot to get started. This is one of those things where you don't need a lot of money to get to a point where you're really producing really well. Alright, so ordinarily I'd be using a ballpoint pen or a stylus or my pocket knife or something, but because I wasn't paying attention when I walked out the door, I didn't bring those. I'm just going to use a stick here and say Hazel 1. I'm just going to write that. Hazel 1. The imprint is now on that piece of aluminum, and it will be there for a long, long time. Now, I'm going to close this as wide as possible. That way I don't have to worry about ever constricting that tree branch. And it should stay nice and healthy for that tag hanging right there. Alright, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, this idea of writing and embossing on tags sounds great, but I don't want to go spend the money to buy these tags. What can I do if I want to do this on the cheap? I've got an answer for you. Let me show you. Although a large amount of the backyard is annual garden space, I do have my perennials back here. For example, that's a Anjou pear back there. There's another Anjou pear over there, and some generic peach tree over yonder. Now, I'm not going to have a hard time identifying those trees because I know I only have Anjou pear trees back here. But imagine if I had several acres to deal with. Would I remember where the Anjous were and where the Bartletts were if I was mixing them up? I think not. So, you've got a lot of trees, you've got a lot of perennials, you've got to mark, and you don't want to pay the money to get those fancy tags whenever you want to mark something. I understand perfectly. Here's what you do. You get an aluminum can, you find these lying on the side of the road. A little bit of scrap wire, you can find this just about anywhere, especially places where they're doing industrial work. This is just some odds and ends of wire from a roll of hardware cloth that I was using to make an air printing bed. This is the scrap end of it. So these are all zero cost materials, to me anyway. I've got a pair of tin snips. That costs a little bit of money, but not much. All I got to do with my tin snips is come over here to my aluminum can and start cutting. Alright. I'm just going to cut straight across here. Alright. Yay! Alright, now the top is going to be a little bit ragged, so you got to be careful. Don't cut your fingers on this. Alright. We're going to go ahead and take that and cut it out like so. Cut the bottom off. And so very quickly you see how you get this strip. Handle carefully, the edges are sharp. You get the strip of aluminum right there. You cut that right out of the can. Now I've got a nice shiny piece of aluminum. Okay, so here we are. We've got our little aluminum strip right here. Turn it towards this tree here. I've got a nail. We're just going to write Anjou with the nail tip A N J O, rather sloppily, U. I could go ahead and write pear there, but I'm pretty sure I know that there's Anjou means pear. Alright, and then here at this end here, I'm going to take my nail and I'm going to go ahead and poke a hole. In there. Okay. That's a big enough hole that we can take our piece of scrap wire, put it through the hole. That's enough to work with right there. We can attach that and the tree can grow quite a bit before it ever becomes a problem. I'll take our tin snips. Trim off the excess wire. And now down here on one of the lower branches that I know I'm going to keep for a long time, I just take this little tag that tells me that this is Anjou, and I can put it right there. Give that wire a little twist. Alright, so this tree limb can get very large before this ever becomes a problem. I have to clip it short. If I forget about it and the tree grows up, it'll just grow around that and it'll absorb the metal into the tree and everything will be just fine. It's not a problem. And there you have it, good people, a simple way that you can mark your perennial plants more or less permanently and know what you planted years from now simply by lifting up that tag. That embossing is still going to be on there. It'll never fade, it'll never chip, it'll never peel. It'll always be there, and you can know what you planted where. Hey, that's all I've got for you, good people. As always, if you found this video informative or entertaining, you know what to do. I will catch you next time.